Picture this: a hungry 7-year-old girl sitting in a classroom, stomach growling so loud that other kids turn to look. She hasn't eaten since yesterday's school lunch. Her teacher notices, but what can she do? The federal program that was supposed to feed her, that money's gone. $70 million vanished. And folks, I'm about to tell you exactly where it went and who helped make it disappear. But before I reveal the shocking truth about those funds and the 3 Democrats who helped cover it up, hit that subscribe button. We're building something powerful here, and we need you in this fight. Now, let me take you inside the most heartbreaking case of government theft I've ever witnessed. It started with a phone call that changed everything. I was reviewing budget reports when my assistant walked in with a look I'll never forget. She handed me a whistleblower report. What I read made my blood run cold. The Summer Food Service Program. You might not know what that is, but you should. It's a federal initiative designed to feed children when school's out. When regular school programs shut down for summer, this steps in. A safety net, a promise that no child goes hungry. But someone had turned that promise into a lie. The report detailed a scheme so audacious, so cruel, that I almost couldn't believe it. Someone had figured out how to steal from the hungriest kids in America, and they didn't just steal a little. They stole $70 million. Think about that for a second. $70 million that was earmarked for feeding children who had nowhere else to turn. But here's where the story takes a turn that will shock you. This wasn't just about one bad actor. This was about a network of corruption that reached right into the halls of Congress. And when certain Democrats found out what was happening, they didn't sound the alarm. They didn't demand justice. They helped cover it up. I know what you're thinking. How is that possible? How do you steal food money from children? Let me walk you through exactly how this scheme worked, because understanding the mechanics of this theft will help you understand just how deep this corruption goes. The Summer Food Service Program operates through reimbursement funding. Organizations serve food to children, submit meal counts, get reimbursed. Simple, transparent, supposed to help kids. But these criminals found the loopholes. They created fake organizations, paper companies with impressive names and official-looking websites. They claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children across multiple states. They submitted fraudulent meal counts, massive numbers, impossible numbers. And month after month, the federal government cut checks. $70 million in checks, made out to organizations that existed only on paper, for meals that were never served, to children who never got fed. But this is where it gets personal for me, and it should get personal for you too. While these criminals were getting rich off fake meal programs, real children were going without food. Summer break had become a time of hunger for kids whose families couldn't afford to replace those school meals. Kids like that 7-year-old girl I told you about at the beginning. I've seen the faces of these children. I've met with families who tried to make a single box of cereal last a week because that's all they could afford. I've talked to parents who skipped meals themselves so their kids could eat something, anything. Let me tell you about Maria Rodriguez, single mother of 3 in Phoenix. Her kids qualified for the Summer Food Service Program. Every morning, she walked them 6 blocks to what was supposed to be a feeding site. But when they arrived, the doors were locked. No signs, no staff, no food. Maria called the number listed. Voicemail. She tried for 2 weeks. Same result. Her youngest, Sophia, only 5 years old, started crying on day 3. Mama, why won't they let us eat? The older kids tried to be brave, but the confusion in their eyes was heartbreaking when Maria showed me the video. By summer's end, Sophia had lost visible weight. Her teacher noticed when school started. That's when Maria realized something was seriously wrong. What Maria didn't know was that the organization had already been paid $47,000 for serving 500 meals daily that summer. While her children went hungry, someone was getting rich. And the whole time, $70 million that was meant for those families was sitting in the bank accounts of criminals. Now here's where the story takes its most disturbing turn, because this theft didn't happen in a vacuum. It didn't go unnoticed by everyone. There were warning signs, there were red flags, there were people in positions of authority who knew something was wrong. 3 Democratic members of Congress received detailed briefings about irregularities in the Summer Food Service Program. They were shown evidence of suspicious activity. They were given documentation of potential fraud. And they were asked to help investigate. But they didn't help. They hindered. Representative Sarah Williams from California was first. Her district included several communities that were supposed to be receiving services from these fraudulent organizations. Her staff was shown evidence that meal programs were reporting impossible numbers, serving more meals than there were children in entire zip codes. Her response? Silence. Active obstruction. When investigators tried to schedule meetings, her office became unavailable. When they requested assistance, her staff found excuses to delay. Representative Michael Torres from Texas was next. His office was shown financial records proving organizations in his district were receiving federal funds but had no visible operations, no kitchens, no staff, no children being fed. His response was worse. He didn't just ignore the evidence. He actively discredited the investigators. He questioned their motives, suggested they were targeting minority-owned businesses, turned a criminal investigation into a political attack. But the third Democrat, Representative Jennifer Clark from Illinois, crossed a line that still makes my stomach turn. She was shown photographs, actual photographs of children who were supposed to be receiving meals from these fraudulent programs, kids who were clearly malnourished, families who were struggling to put food on the table. I was in that meeting. I watched her face as she looked at those pictures. For a moment, I saw something flicker, compassion, but then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. She pushed the photographs back. "These could be from anywhere," she said. "How do I know these aren't stock photos?" I showed her a video I had taken, Maria Rodriguez explaining to her son why they couldn't find the food program. The confusion in that child's eyes. Clark watched the entire video. Then she said 6 words I'll never forget. "This isn't my problem to solve." And she knew. She knew that the programs claiming to serve these children were fake. She knew that the money meant for these families was being stolen, and she chose to stay quiet. Why? Why would elected officials help cover up theft from hungry children? The answer is ugly but simple. Politics. Partisan protection. These Democrats were more concerned about protecting their party than protecting children from hunger. The investigation continued without their help. In fact, it continued in spite of their obstruction. And what we found was even worse than we initially suspected. I remember reviewing bank records at 2 a.m. when I noticed the same routing number across supposedly different organizations. These separate nonprofits were using the same bank account. My team mapped the connections, addresses that didn't exist, phone numbers to the same call center, board members who were dead. And the federal checks kept coming. But here's what gives me chills. We discovered that one of the main perpetrators, Marcus Thompson, was living in a $2.3 million mansion in Beverly Hills. His Instagram was full of luxury cars, private jets, expensive restaurants, all paid for with money meant for hungry kids. The contrast was sickening. While Sophia was losing weight in Phoenix, Thompson was posting $500 dinners in Malibu. Well, almost no one. There was one Department of Agriculture inspector, Janet Morrison, who had been raising red flags for months. Her supervisors kept telling her to focus elsewhere. But Janet kept digging. She kept fighting. If it wasn't for Janet Morrison, this scheme might still be running today. She's a hero, folks. The criminal network wasn't just stealing from the summer food service program. They had infiltrated multiple federal nutrition programs, school breakfast programs, women, infants, and children assistance, emergency food assistance. They had turned the entire federal nutrition safety net into their personal piggy bank. And the total amount? It wasn't just $70 million. That was just the beginning. When you add up all the fraudulent claims, all the fake organizations, all the stolen funds, the number reaches over $200 million. $200 million that was supposed to feed the hungriest Americans, gone. But here's what gives me hope. Here's what makes me believe that we can still fix this. The investigation didn't stop. Good people, honest people, people who care more about hungry children than they do about political careers, they kept digging. They kept following the money. They kept building the case. And eventually, the criminals were caught, arrested, prosecuted. Some of them are sitting in federal prison right now. The fake organizations were shut down. The stolen money was traced. Justice was served. I'll never forget Marcus Thompson's arrest. FBI agents showed up at his Beverly Hills mansion at 6 a.m. He was in silk pajamas when they cuffed him. His neighbors watched as agents carried out evidence boxes. But not all of it. Not nearly all of it. Because while we caught the criminals who stole the money, we never held accountable the politicians who helped them get away with it for so long. Representative Williams is still in Congress, still serving on committees that oversee federal spending, still in a position to help or hinder investigations into government fraud. Representative Torres is still in Congress, too, still claiming to champion minority businesses while having helped criminals hide behind those very businesses to steal from children. And Representative Clark? She's not only still in Congress, she's been promoted. She now serves on the House Appropriations Committee, the committee that decides how federal dollars get allocated, including dollars for child nutrition programs. The system that allowed this theft to happen is still in place. The politicians who enabled it are still in power, and somewhere out there another criminal is looking at federal nutrition programs and thinking about how they can get their piece. This is why I need you. This is why we're building this community. The only way to stop this corruption is to shine a light so bright that the cockroaches can't hide. If you're outraged, if you believe stealing food from hungry children is unforgivable, then take action. Subscribe, share this story, and if you really want to make a difference, become a member. Support this investigation, because those children, the ones who went hungry while criminals got rich, they deserve justice. They deserve accountability. They deserve leaders who put their welfare above party loyalty, and they deserve a system that works for them. The theft happened. The cover-up happened. But the story doesn't end there. It ends with you. It ends with us. It ends with whether we choose to let this slide or whether we demand better. I know what I'm choosing. I'm choosing to fight. I'm choosing to keep investigating. I'm choosing to keep telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes certain politicians. The question is, what are you going to choose? Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And I'll see you in the next one.